Yeah. Good morning, dear founders. So, welcome to the eighth session of We Start Pre-Incubation Program. And the topic is branding and digital marketing. And you know how important branding and digital marketing for a startup, right? To create a uniqueness to your startup and to differentiate your product in this crowded and competitive marketplace. So Kerala Startup Mission is also taking it more seriously. That is why we have brought in a luminary in the world of brand marketing for you. And it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Mr. Nikhil Kant. He's the head of brand marketing, PR, and social media at Even, and he will be taking today's session on branding and digital marketing. So before merely handing over the session to him, let me briefly introduce who Nikhil Kant is, who is taking this session for you. He has over 13 years of experience. So with over 13 years of his invaluable experience, Nikhil has left a permanent mark on some of the very well-known brands, as we know, like Coca-Cola, Sprite, and Sony, etc. And he was also he was also had a tenure at the Uber as a head of global social media, and his expertise or his experience there speaks volume about to steer large scale campaign and initiatives across diverse markets and channels. So Nikhil's expertise is not about a vast knowledge or experience, but he's also making some impacts, deeply impactful experience he will sharing with us. So currently, as the head of brand marketing, PR, and social media at Even is a promising healthcare startup today, and Nikhil continues to redefine the landscape of brand identity. Like branding is not only confined to conventional boundaries of branding, but he is trying to include more ways or more manners to it, like brand awareness, engagement, and sentiment in the ever evolving digital sphere. So Nikhil's commitment to foster innovation not only confined to his profession in branding, but also he's an investor. His roles shines as a investor in emerging startups as well. He's an angel investor, and also he's a marketing trainer and also a podcasting host. So, podcast host. So, without giving much introduction, because I know he will have a fantastic intro about himself, and our attendees are waiting to hear from you itself. So, without further ado, let us extend a warm welcome to Nikhil Kant, and I hope it will be a very meaningful and interactive session. So welcome, Nikhil Kant, and over to you. The stage is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing, Aditya. I don't think I can do a better job. Yeah, thank you everyone for having me, and thank you everyone for taking time out on a Saturday morning. I'm pretty sure waking up early on a Saturday is difficult. It was difficult for me. So I really appreciate you all taking the time out. Yeah, we're gonna hopefully have a lot of fun today, honestly. Like, my sessions aren't majorly filled with theories or data or frameworks, etc., etc. There are some, of course, frameworks and theories that will help you kind of think through the stuff that you're building. But I think how I like to kind of build stuff is more through the power of examples and kind of explain stuff by looking at some successes and some failures as well of mine, other people, etc., etc. So this session today is going to be all about how do you build a solid brand, and especially at, like, early stage areas where, like, I'm assuming a lot of you are. What is the importance of brand building? And usually early stage startups, what I've seen, I worked in an early stage startup, I worked in a late stage startup, I worked in, like, a global company, and I've realized that the bigger the company, the more concerned they are about their brand. Unfortunately, the smaller companies always keep brand literally at the back end, because, hey, you're dealing with a lot of other stuff, right? You're dealing with building a company, you're dealing with hiring, you're dealing with fundraising, you're dealing with performance marketing, etc., etc. So usually brand marketing kind of takes a back seat. And I've I've personally felt horrible about it. And I've realized that a lot of startups have kept brand at the back end because they just don't know. They think that, doing brand marketing or branding is expensive. It's not going to get immediate results. So, what's the point, right? We'll figure out how to make a good brand once we have money from performance marketing. So I personally kind of felt that that's been a challenge that I've wanted to kind of take on honestly with myself and see if I can like work with startups and help them just not do this essentially. So hopefully today's session is going to help you learn some principles around brand marketing. There's a lot, by the way, there's a lot that I have, and I won't bore you with a lot of the theory. We'll go kind of skim past theory a bit, but I will take you through some of the core foundational frameworks that I've built, that have helped me become a better brand marketer, to be very honest. And hopefully you all will be slightly more inspired to actually invest in your brand, and not just invest in performance marketing. I don't hate performance marketing. A lot of people come to me on my LinkedIn and say that, dude, why do you hate performance marketing so much? I don't, not at all. I just think that you can't have direct marketing or performance marketing working in a silo without looking at your brand. They both need to be together, and that's essentially what we learned today. And also, at any given point of time, if anybody has any questions, please shoot them in the chat, or whoever is in the panelist, unmute yourself. I really don't mind at all. I would like to keep things actually as interactive as possible, because I've realized, um, the more question answer kind of scenes that happen, it's more engaging and exciting for everyone, and everybody gets more involved. So I think I want to say that. Also, no question is a bad or a stupid question. Only my answers are going to be stupid. So please, even if you think in your head that, this is a very basic question, blah, 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 please like put it out there. That's okay. I think this is a safe space, so nobody's judging anybody else. Please judge me all you want. Don't judge each other. Yeah, we'll start. Atisha is asking, please define performance marketing. So essentially, performance marketing, Atisha, is a concept that has evolved in the last few years with the onset of, really strong digital marketing ecosystems. And performance marketing is essentially, when you do marketing with the sole objective of getting money or getting leads or getting a very specific lower funnel metric for you. So say, for example, an Instagram ad that you might see where you see an ad of a car, and that you click on it and it immediately opens up a lead form for you to book a test drive. That is performance marketing, where it's essentially like direct response. And brand marketing is a little different from that, right? Brand marketing works on larger awareness and consideration factors, where it may or may not result in an immediate action. Say, for example, a television commercial that you see, it's not like you see it and immediately go onto the brand's website or search for it, right? You have it in your head, you find it's nice. Someday later, you'll realize that, hey, this is the brand I saw, and you'll probably go search for it. That's the core difference. And I've really like simplified the difference. Performance marketing, of course, has a whole lot of other things. But in a nutshell, it is whenever you're doing marketing to invoke a direct or an immediate response from your consumer set. I hope that answers it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get on to the presentation. Let me just find it. Yeah, there you go. And Aditya, at any given point of time, if there are questions that come into the chat and I miss, please just like let me know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So welcome to Branding and Digital Marketing. This is me, by the way. I know that Aditya has given a fantastic intro, so I won't bore you with it. I'm actually not 31, I'm 32 now. But I've been in marketing and advertising for the last 13 years. Have had good run in terms of just the kind of brands that I've had the good pleasure of working on. So brands like global powerhouses like Coca-Cola, Sony, Fitbit. What did I do? See, this keeps happening with me. Yeah. or even like homegrown, cult brands like Royal Enfield, etc. Had the good pleasure of working on all of them. And yeah, it's interesting like that I'm speaking to people from Kerala, so that that lotus in the middle. This is the only place that I'm a little scared of showing it, but yeah, I have unfortunately worked or fortunately worked on a couple of election campaigns with the BJP as well. So kind of I've been all around, right? So I've kind of been in FMCG, been in tech, been in consumer durables, been in Alcobev, been in tobacco, etc., etc. Then in Uber, I was leading social media and digital content for Uber first in India, then in APAC, then globally. And now I head brand at Even. Even is a young, early stage healthcare startup in the insurtech kind of a space. We're a healthcare brand and kind of are operating in the midst of healthcare and health insurance. Young, very early, but hopefully will become a big brand pretty soon. And yeah, that's why I'm here to talk to you today. I think I've had the good pleasure of working for a variety of categories, a variety of brands, a variety of life stages of brands, and hopefully I can impart some of that experience. So let's start with one question. Like, okay, I want to start with a very simple question. If anybody can tell me what's their favorite brand and why do they like that brand? It could be anything. I'm opening up the chat just so that I can see it. Um, who wants to start? Anyone? Again, like nothing is stupid or off limits, so please go ahead. I also want to know why. Okay, like I don't want to see, hey, Tata's my favorite brand, or Amul's my favorite brand, or Zomato's my favorite brand. I want to know why. Like if I tell you one of the most favorite brands I have in my life is Red Bull, and it's because Red Bull has built a brand on the back of content and on the back of experiences, and they never just shove the product in your face, and I just love their production. So um, like Atisha said, Canva is one of our favorite brands because it's easy to work with and the outcomes are beautiful. So you like the brand because of the product. That's a very interesting kind of a look at as well. I literally said I want to know why, and everybody's just giving me brands except for Atisha and Shamla. So please, let's hear your reason.
Hello.
Hi, Anju.
Hi, I'm too lazy to type, so I'm going to tell you why I like Tata so much.
My language. Yeah.
I've worked in TCS for about 7 years, right? And I had this role of being an onboarding manager, and it was an amazing opportunity to talk about why the vision of Tata, how he did not ever define himself as a businessman,
Yeah.
but he said, I'm an industrialist and I'm going to bring businesses here. I'm going to open up the market. So those are the things that I like. And I also like that there are strong values that are associated with the brand.
Hmm.
So even if I've left TCS, it's been many years, but when I think about a brand that I really personally see, it's a 4 lakh organization, and everybody in the organization relates to the brand. They love
Yeah.
the person that has created it. So yeah, so he'll continue to be the person or the brand that I love the most. It's probably because of the person who is
Yeah. Yeah.
building
No,
it.
absolutely. And that's great. A lot of brands like that have been built on the back of a personality, on the back of their values.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've got Tata on the one hand, where Mr. Ratan Tata's amazing values of compassion, of the pride of being Indian, of just creating opportunities for this country, and just being an all-round nice human being.
Yeah.
Uh, one that, and then also on the other hand, you've got say a Tesla or an X, which has Elon Musk, and he's an eccentric individual who's not probably somebody who'll put in a box. But the fact is,
Yeah,
both of these brands have been built on the back of a
of
human
course.
being and their values, right? You
Mhm.
may not associate with an Elon Musk's value, but clearly there are people who do.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a very interesting way of building a brand. And I have to say, this is the first time I've seen so many Tatas on this. I ask this question in every session of mine. Usually I get Amul or Zomato. Um,
Mm.
this is the first time. This is like very interesting for me. Like it's actually taken me by surprise. I'm at a loss for words. But no, great. And I love Mr. Ratan Tata. He just opened India's first big animal hospital in Mumbai. So like he just,
Even airlines, this TCS, there's just so many things, right,
yeah,
that he has done. I can't think of one person who has made so much impact for our country other than him.
absolutely, absolutely. and has 0 haters. So,
Yeah.
which is even better. But yeah, thank you for this. I think this is a good warm up. Gives me a good understanding of the kind of the kind of values that this audience associates with. So I'll tailor my language accordingly. But let's talk about brand marketing, right, and why it's getting so important. These are some of the headlines that have come from some really big brands in the past 2 years. Um, Airbnb, ASOS, Adidas, and now that I'm saying it, I realize that all of them start with an A, which is interesting. But the last few years, if you've been on the internet, if you've been on LinkedIn and stuff, you'll realize that the only thing that people talk about in marketing is performance marketing. What's your ad spend? What's your ROAS? What's your conversion percentages, etc., etc. And what that's done is that's created like this bubble that if you're not creating good, efficient, lower funnel advertising, you're like literally that's your brand. And consumer tech brands like Airbnb were literally the first people to start this trend, because what Airbnb's things you like, if you were an Airbnb marketer a couple of years ago, what was your challenge? Your challenge was to either get more bookings on Airbnb or get more hosts on Airbnb. Demand and supply, you had to do both because it's a marketplace. Now, what that ended up doing was everybody was just working on, hey, how can my ad just create more people to come, like get more people to just book or get more people to just like list their houses, etc. What Airbnb realized a couple of years ago is, hey, shit, we've lost our brand value in this completely. We're not talking about what does Airbnb stand for? What is the mission of the company? What is the feeling that we want to invoke in our audience? What is the community welfare piece that we want to talk about? And Brian Chesky, who's the founder of Airbnb, has always been a very strong brand marketer. He's always maintained that. Even when Airbnb had to lay off people in the midst of the pandemic, the email and the letter that he wrote to his people is still date considered a masterclass in crisis management, because everybody got a bad rap for laying off people, including Google, including Facebook, including Uber. Airbnb, nobody said a bad thing about them. That was because of how he built the brand. So he a couple of years ago realized that, hey, shit, man, we're just like spending only in performance marketing. Let's cut down performance marketing. We'll have to go on brand awareness. And they've come out with a statement last year saying that they literally, the earnings call, the shareholder earnings call, they said that the shift to brand marketing has been extremely effective for us, because that has helped us build, instead of buying customers, we were now educating customers. What that means is when you buy a customer, that's a short-term transaction. But when you build a customer through education, that's lifetime value. And they will keep coming back without you having to give them a $5 off or a $10 off here. So that's been extremely, extremely important. Similarly with ASOS, who's now said that they're investing 30 million pounds in a brand build in their brand building, and they want to move away from performance marketing. And this word seductive is really interesting, because performance marketing is seductive. When you put an ad and it immediately gets you a sale, that is the biggest high, right? And it's very easy for us to fall in that trap. And again, I'm not saying nobody said that they're closing down performance marketing, but they're giving brand marketing its due. And Adidas also said that they feel they overinvested in performance marketing, and Adidas today is Adidas because of brand building. They never had performance marketing earlier, right? So big brands are now realizing the importance of building a solid brand. And there are some myths that I've heard around branding. I just want to put them out there. The first one is an email that my boss actually got from one of our investors in Even, when she had hired me, and I was kind of talking to her about some brand plans, and said, she started laughing, and I was like, what the hell happened? She's like, I just was talking to an investor about some brand marketing efforts that we want to do, and this is the email that he sent, which said, branding is performance that doesn't perform. And that really pissed me off. And I was like, you give me the investor's email, I'll write him a stinky email. But of course, he's an investor, so we're not going to do that. But it is a myth, I've realized, that branding is performance marketing that doesn't perform. It's something that won't give you immediate results. It's a load of bullshit. Second, that it takes a lot of money, a lot of resources, agency, etc. Startup doesn't have any job doing this, right? And that's again absolutely incorrect. Or branding is just fancy advertising, and only and essentially it's only the marketing department that's supposed to be responsible for branding. All these myths kind of have made me realize that there is a lot to be learned. But why I feel brand marketing is essential. First of all, is it builds trust by making your brand more recognizable. If everybody does performance marketing, literally everybody feels the same. Every ad feels the same. Today, you look at any edtech ad that comes on your Instagram, or look at any, honestly, clothing brand ad that comes on your Instagram. They all freaking look the same. It's very difficult to kind of create a recognizably different factor about it. A strong brand, in fact, research has proven, helps reduce customer acquisition costs, because a good brand will get better CTRs, which means like better click-through rates on your ads, which will decrease your cost per leads and decrease your cost per acquisitions and improve your profitability. If I run an ad which looks like shit versus I run an ad which looks nice and decent and is on brand, the on-brand ad will get more clicks, of course. So it just makes no sense that you don't invest in like building a strong brand. Of course, a strong brand generates organic conversations and conversions. It reduces your outlay on performance over time. Like, for example, a brand like Coca-Cola today doesn't need to spend on performance marketing as much, right? Because everybody knows Coke and everybody knows what's it used for. You will go out and ask for it yourself. They're organically selling. Now their job is not to sell. Their job is to sell you one more. And that's what they're focusing on. And lastly, a strong brand, and like we just heard from Anju, I think, yeah, that a strong brand creates a central aligned mission that everybody understands. She left TCS years ago, is what she said, and she's still aligned to that mission. That's the power of a strong brand. I am aligned to Uber's mission today because even if I've left them 2.5 years ago, the 4 years that I spent there, I lived the mission, I lived the brand, and I still resonate with it. And that's what the beauty of a strong brand is. Yeah, and just I realized that we need to kind of set the stage for why brand marketing is important. So what makes a good brand, right? What are the core elements? Now like you can't, of course, let's be honest. If you think you're going to learn brand marketing in an hour-long session on a Saturday morning with a rando, that's not going to happen, right? Like it's not. Branding isn't over. Like it's a lifetime of experience. It's a lifetime of learning. I'm still learning. But when you like break down and simplify what constitutes a good brand, there are 6 things that you have to kind of always look for. A, what's the product? How interesting is the product, and what is the core selling point of that? Differentiation essentially means, can I find a interesting way of approaching this brand that nobody else has? Third is, you should have a very well-defined target group. This is, I feel, the single most important thing, which any startup founder would also agree to, I'm assuming, is to know and really, really, really understand your TG. Fourth is, the fourth, fifth, and sixth kind of are the same. If you ask me, they're like all subsets of each other. But it's essentially, how does your brand look and feel, and what does it sound like, and what's its personality, and how does that happen across the organization? So essentially, a good product, a great differentiation plan, a very strongly defined TG, and a very very, very strong understanding of how your brand will look and feel to the outside world as well as the inside world. So
Nikhil,
just remember,
there is
when
a
you're
question like,
yeah, of course.
What is TOV?
Yeah, TOV means tone of voice. So essentially, to give you an example, right? You've got a brand like, say, Coca-Cola, and you've got a brand like Red Bull on the other hand. Both of them sell drinks, aerated, carbonated beverages that essentially you don't really need, but you want. But how their tone of voice is very different. Is Coca-Cola has a very soft, familiar, very, community-driven tone of voice. It is not, Coca-Cola doesn't do controversial stuff, right? It just talks about bringing people together and just having a good time, whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's colleagues, etc., etc. Red Bull, on the other hand, also sells a drink, but their tone of voice is very different. Their tone of voice is aggressive. Their tone of voice is go and get shit done. They're on the edge of controversy always. And that's what tone of voice means. Like, how would your brand sound like? And what's going to be the tone that you use? Whether you'll be loud, whether you'll be, underplaying. When you look at a brand, right, you should not look at a brand like an entity or a corporate. You need to look at the day you start looking at your brand like a human being is when everything changes. That's when you go deeper and deeper into the layers of. That's why you have this thing called personality, right? Brand personality. Personality is literally starts with a person, but you have to personify your brand for you to actually build a good brand. There's one thing on Q&A as well. I'll just check it. So Gauri is saying, how important is it for entrepreneurs and founders to strengthen their personal brand in today's market? For whom is it more beneficial, B2B, B2C founders? I think, see, brand building is great for anybody. Whether you're a B2B founder or a B2C founder does not matter. It's building, and I won't say building a personal brand is like an imperative. Like you have to build a personal brand. Of course you don't. If you can, great, right? Go for it. But it's not like you absolutely need to do it. Unless say for example, if you're building in a category where you're literally building the category itself, then I would suggest, build a personal brand, because through your personal brand, you can drive a lot of the education for the category, right? If tomorrow you start something that just doesn't exist as a category in India, you'll probably need to do that. So that is something that I feel is the way I look at it. But again, B2B, B2C does not matter. For every, B2C brand whose say founder has a great personal brand, there's also a very strong B2B brand whose founder has a great personal brand. So like you can figure out, like, I don't think that should be the core thing. And I see one more. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Gauri, for both the questions. So let's learn about differentiation, right? How do you build a strong differentiation about sorry, was somebody saying something? No? Okay.
This is Jayashree here. I had one question.
Oh, hi, Jayashree. Yeah.
So we were all talking, I mean, many of us said Amul brand, and we know the utterly butterly delicious and that little girl there, and we all remember that. And Amul is, when you talk about that, is what comes into our mind. But at the same time, if you look at it, Amul advertised a lot on. They were big on this political satire. They were big on social. They took up social cause, and many of their many of billboards you could see that. So how has that helped Amul? Because it is very different from the product. So how those messages that they send through their political satire or a social cause, how did it help brand Amul?
Got it. I think great question. So first of all, I do want to say it's sad that they don't do it anymore. Or they play it, of course, really safe. We all know why they do it. We all know
They still do it, right? Like I saw it yesterday.
I don't think they push the boundaries as much as they used to.
But the satire has toned down.
They've made them very relevant.
They made it. Okay, so it's gone from satire to celebration, right? That's the big difference where it's kind of come to. Earlier, it used to be taking a dig at whatever. Now they usually just celebrate events that happen. Like whatever trends happening, right? And it has died down, right? Like we'll be kidding ourselves if we're saying Amul is the same, controversial brand that it was. It's not, of course. No brand is in the current scenario, right? And not just in India, across the world. Nobody's taking any sides anymore, unfortunately. But to your question, how it helps, right? There are 3-4 ways in which, Jayashree, I feel that angle helped Amul. One is you also have to look at the evolution and the time. When Amul started with that, it was the time of liberalization. It was essentially post-liberalization India, where we were now getting exposed to newer and newer information, entertainment, brands, money, etc., etc. That was a time when having an opinion meant something. So they took that approach. Second is their line of the taste of India. They always wanted to give you a taste of India. And a taste of India could be in their butter, but it's also in giving you a taste of what's happening in India. And that was the logic behind which they created that. Third is that they're able to build top of mind recall for the brand Amul, because Amul still relatively was a smaller brand, right? At that time when they had it was the only big butter brand, but it was still wasn't a household name like it was today. So what that did for them was have a constant top of mind recall for the consumers over time. Like you always, when you open the newspaper, go on the third page on the top right, they would always have, that one strip, that satire strip. So over time, it became a property, right? Over time, people would open the newspaper first to look at what Amul said and then go on reading the headlines. And that builds top of mind recall for your brand. And lastly, they always had their mascot. So again, all the brand elements, what it did was give you an always on discovery of this brand. And over time, it started basically just resonating with your head. That's how mental intellectualization works, right? If you show me something 5 times, I will remember it. So that's essentially the reason why they did it. They chose to take the political satire route because, hey, they wanted their personality to be a little different, and that's the route they chose. So like nobody can question them on that, I think. But the reason why they did it was because they had a property, they were top of mind, and every day you would see an ad from Amul. So it kind of became a household name like that. Aditya, you raised your hand for some reason.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
Nikhil,
there is a problem with your slide, I think.
Now it will be
Part
visible.
of slide is not visible.
Now it will be visible because I'd open up the Zoom box.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it okay now?
Now it's okay. Yeah, I think Dr. Preeta, it's fine. We hope it's fine for other participants as well. Yeah. Just go on. Yeah.
Cool. So let's go on to like building differentiation, right? So building differentiation follows like broadly four pillars for your brand. So let's start with the first pillar. It's the product pillar. Now, when you're building up your brand, when you're building up your company, think of if there is a way in which your product can be expressed differently. It could be physical characteristics or the way you deliver a service, or just say the technology that you use in the brand, in the product, etc. Is there a way that the product itself can be used as a differentiator? Uh, Here an example is, say, a brand like Dyson, where you can get a hairdryer for 10,000 rupees. For hell, you can get a hairdryer for 5,000 rupees also. But why is Dyson selling at 50,000? That's because they are saying that, hey, our product technology that does not exist in any other hairdryer. Like they have things like the Coanda effect and like this and that and this and that. And as you can imagine, I'm like a hairdryer user, right? Like, look at my hair, and I live in Delhi. I have to dry hair in the winters. But why did I choose to kind of go into a brand like Dyson? Is because the trust that it gave me was, it's good technology, it's not going to burn my hair. And that's all I needed. I didn't need anything fancy. Yeah, the fact that it looks great is an added advantage, but that's also a product differentiation. So one of the core things that brands work on is creating a product differentiation. And not all brands can do that, but if you can, that's one of the most impactful ways of building a brand. Second is the pricing. And pricing is interesting because pricing works on a spectrum. You can differentiate your brand on low pricing, or you can differentiate it on high pricing. And both will work. You'll just need to figure out what's for your brand, right? So say a low-end example would be an example like Boat, where it's differentiated itself on good quality products at essentially affordable prices. You don't have to spend 10,000 rupees for a pair of headphones. We will give you the same sound, everything in the same style, blah, 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 in 4,000, 5,000 rupees. Similarly, you could go to a high-end example like Starbucks, right? Where you can have a chai or a coffee in 30 bucks. You're paying 350 bucks. Why? Because of the experience. So they've kind of differentiated their sales like that. So you can always look at, or like if I take I've been reading a lot about Hermes recently, the Hermes, the global luxury brand. And I was reading a lot about their Birkin and their Kelly bags. And look at how they've differentiated themselves in terms of like exclusivity and the fact that it's so expensive, blah, 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 right? So it goes both ways. You can differentiate your brand on the back of, hey, this is the lowest price available, or you can differentiate on saying that, hey, this is a money can't buy experience. If you've been selected, that means, you're selected and you will have to pay a price for it. Then comes presentation. This is, Amul, for example, is a great example here. But how brand it
So there is a
presents
suggestion, like if you can provide some.
examples for services. Yeah, okay.
Hi, Nikhil. Hi.
Hi.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes,
There
you
is
are.
a suggestion, like if you can provide some examples from the service sector also, because there are more from service sector itself.
Got it. Yeah. I think, see, it's easier for products, but let me try. So let's go in a product differentiation from a service. Could be a service like, say, Practo, right? Where their differentiation is they essentially you get hundreds of thousands of doctors at your fingertips. That's the product differentiation that they've built. Otherwise, you would have had to go to a doctor, had to Google the names of doctors near me, try and figure out no rating system, blah blah blah. And Practo's designed a solution where you can just like go into the app and see all the doctors around you. So that becomes a little bit of a product differentiation from a services angle. In pricing, also, like, look at Uber, right? Uber in itself could say that, hey, Uber doesn't differentiate on the back of pricing. But say for a brand like Rapido, they are differentiating on the back of lower pricing, that we are cheaper than anybody else. So that's how you will do that all. Any example that I'm giving will apply to services and products equally. I've just taken some product examples because it's just easier to explain. But let me like tune it accordingly. But yeah, sorry, presentation. So how you present your brand is also a very important way in which you differentiate. These are more softer approaches because if you're in a category like a soft drinks category, or if you're in a category like what in services? Services are like, say you're in a category like online travel agent category, like a Make My Trip or a GoIBO, which is a service product. It's a cluttered category. People know exactly what to expect. You really can't differentiate anyway. So the only way you'll differentiate would be through your color, logo, or the way you present yourself. That is the only way you'll differentiate. So it could be things like color, logo, typography, photography, tone, or even a mascot. Like, for example, Amul has a mascot. Michelin Tires has a mascot. Those are the ways they're kind of building their differentiation, right? Like no other brand, if any other butter brand today comes with a random mascot, you'll be like, hey, they've stolen it from Amul because now they built so much, equity in your head. And that's because at the end, hey, what butter is commoditized, right? What is the difference between a Mother Dairy butter or a Amul butter? Nobody knows. Nobody cares if you're getting it at the same price, but they've differentiated on the back of, say the way they presented, using words like the taste of India, using the mascot, building the whole idea of trust, that Amul butter, like, when you go to a roadside stall for something and they say, I use Amul butter, you immediately have some trust in it. So those are the softer aspects on which they built the brand, because at the end, the product is a dollop of butter. It's the same anywhere in the world. And lastly, building it on experiences or emotions, right? Can you provide, if everything is the same, you can't differentiate on anything else, but just the way you deliver your services or your experiences or the emotional attachment with your brand could be a differentiator. And a lot of brands do that, right? It could be stuff like, it could be just a great retail physical experience, right? Like, for example, if you go to a Zara store, you will hear 3 or 4 attendants shouting, welcome to Zara. And that's an experience that you remember. You go to a Chayo's, welcome to Chayo's, right? Everybody says it. That's an experience you remember. It could be exceptional customer service. Like I've got Amex as an example here. American Express as a brand has distinguished itself on the back of good customer service. They're like, hey, every bank bloody pisses you off because they're inefficient. They call you 30 times. We're going to do the exact opposite. We'll probably spend a little more in hiring better people. No, sorry, wrong choice of words. We'll spend more in hiring more experienced people, but they will deliver a better service experience for us. It could be a website, it could be, any novel environment that you create, or even the way you unbox a product. A lot of credit card companies are trying to differentiate on that, on just the experience of unboxing a product. So those are like, that's also where you can look at differentiation. So when you look at, if I burn it down, the 4 pieces that you should look at when you're building differentiation, one is product, one is pricing, one is experiences and emotions, and the 4th is presentation. I forgot what I was talking about it. I think there is one question. What do
Not
you
a
mean
question.
same for Starbucks, Gauri? Sorry. Yeah, Anju, please.
It's not a question, but when we're talking about emotions, I was thinking that all these brands that actually bully you into buying them, right? Like if you don't own us, then you're not part of this exclusive community.
Yeah.
And you couldn't just buy me if you pay me money. You
Yeah.
have to. What is their ideology?
That is a very old trick in the marketing playbook. It is essentially creating, and now the kids call it FOMO, right? The fact is that if I create either a fake urgency or a fake exclusivity or a fake, how do I say, limit to the amount of product available, it's natural human tendency for you to want it. It's the older, in fact, this is older than anything else. Like if you go back in time when Adam and Eve came, what was that, right? The forbidden fruit concept is
Yeah.
essentially that. If you tell me not to do something, I will want to do it more. Similarly, if you tell me I can't have it, I will want to have it more. That is basic human psychology. And by the way, one of the things that I always tell every marketer, anybody who wants to get into marketing or is in marketing already, read a lot of psychology. As much human psychology as you can read, please read. I feel I'm a decent marketer today because of the amount of psychology books I've read in my life. Because the more you understand human beings, what is marketing and advertising? It's essentially a stimulus action response ecosystem in the most simplified ways of it. I want to give a stimuli to a person and invoke a certain response out of it. That is, in a nutshell, what marketing is. And that is the basis of human psychology. I should be able to understand, if I show you something that makes you laugh, will you buy the product? Or if I show you something that makes you cry, will I, be able to sell the product? So if you can learn psychology, a lot of these like elements just start making so much more freaking sense. But like to your question, if I tell you there are only 100 of these products available, you will want it, of course, because you want to be a part of an exclusive club. You will show it off to 1,000 people, even if you're not a person who likes to show off.
But is it even ethical? It almost
Who's to
sounds
say what is ethical,
unethical.
Anju? I don't think anything is ethical or unethical in life. You can't view life like that anymore, I feel. Right? Nothing is like, everybody's pushing boundaries. You think politics is ethical? No, of course not, right? You think Zoom as a company is ethical? No. Nobody's an ethical person left in the world anymore, I feel. I don't think that's the way you should look at it. There is, as long as it's not hurting somebody else, like who gives a shit, right? If I tell you there are only 100 pieces of this available, they cost 1 lakh rupees each. If you have 1 lakh rupees, you'll buy it. If you don't, you're not going to buy it. It's as simple. See, Maybach also does it, right? Maybach as a company says there are, or screw Maybach, Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce says you cannot buy a Rolls-Royce. You can't just walk into a freaking Rolls-Royce showroom and buy it. They will do a profiling. They will look at you, and every Rolls-Royce is different. So you'll have to spend time in building that car with them. Of course you want it. Can you buy it? No. But can you say it's unethical to position the brand like that? I don't think so. It's just playing with your, it's manipulation, yeah. It's just playing with your, like Gmail also started that, right? When Gmail started, if I don't know how old you are, but I'm very old. But when Gmail started, you could not log into Gmail and build an account. You had to get an invite. And what that did was Gmail suddenly became the coolest email on the freaking planet, because hey, you don't have an invite? Ha, you're nobody, or you're a commoner. I begged my friends for a Gmail invite, and then I felt so cool when I got a Gmail account and I had invites to give away. I was like the boss. I was literally taking money for it. So, that's just the way the human brain works. And that's the day you can figure out how the human brain works is the day you'll become a good brand marketer. Aditya, your
So just to add, there is an issue like because Anju mentioned that ethical part. I remember there is an issue like fair and lovely for fair skin and dark skin. There was a large controversial uh, discussion happened. So what do you think about that?
yeah, that is stupid, right? Like that is stupid. The controversial discussion wasn't about them, creating false urgency for the brand. The thing was it's promoting a lifestyle which can actually harm people, right? Where if you're putting people on the basis of the color of their skin, you're harming society. You're creating issues like that, right? So that's the reason why they had to go into that, and I strongly support that. But it's not like that, love for fair skin has gone out of this world, but at least at some level it's the advertising around that has stopped. Gauri's asking, can you suggest some books? Yeah, so I've read a lot of Freud. I've read a lot of Carl Jung. So my favorite book of all time is Gauri, I think Man and His Shadow, Man and His Symbols. That's what I read. By Carl Jung. It's that actually really opened my eyes into advertising as well, because Man and His Symbols is essentially around shadow theory and dream theory. So it's a great book to learn about what really goes on in the brain when you're sleeping and when you're just unconsciously thinking about things. I hope that answered. But yeah, going forward, let's bust some more myths, right? As a marketer, there are some things that you're not supposed to do. Please don't do them. One, product placements in ads or in movies or in TV serials is not building a brand. Like this is something I hear a lot, and a lot of times people will be like, hey, there's a great movie being made and my brand will be placed there. It's just passive, it's boring, it's done to death. Don't do it. Like Kurkure did this in this random serial. I don't know what, didn't make no sense. Second, branding is not just about making high quality, expensive videos. I think this is the biggest self-created hurdle for startups to create good content. They feel good, good brand means achhe videos, right? Like very expensive videos. That's something that you should not look at. Like look at Zomato as a brand. They started doing videos literally, I think 3 or 4 years ago. They were not doing any videos before that. They just built the brand heads down, just being core to their personality, just being core to their ecosystem. Every day, red background, white font, one pun on the current trends with a food reference in it. That's their playbook, right? If you like literally break down the Zomato playbook is red background, white font, food pun, trend. That's it. That's all they do. And look at the last 1,000 posts, you'll see that that's only what they do. And that's the power of consistency. That's the power of building a good brand. But you don't have to like always invest in like crazy bloody videos, right? Like Zomato built it like this. Why can't you build it? Right? So think small. That's okay. You can start small, but start. And then you build a community, and then you gradually invest when that community is giving you, giving you money or giving you sales or giving you leads, whatever it is. So any brand collateral is your brand. Don't think of it like, oh, I only have to do videos, or the way to make a brand is expensive designs. No, it's not. So, like, especially in today's day and age. And lastly, branding is not riding on every single trend that is there.
Okay.
Right? It will be Kala, if you can mute yourself, please. Thank you. But this is one thing I hear a lot, and I see a lot from social media marketers, from brand marketers. They want to be a part of every trend, right? Every single trend, whether it's Ori, whether it's us landing on the moon, whether today is Engineers Day, tomorrow is Math Day, day after is Hamburger Day, Rakhi, New Year, Valentine, blah, 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 blah. Everything. Like brands want to have and most of the time brands have the lamest of bloody content on these days. So my suggestion is find your space and find where you have a right to say something and where you'll have a larger, a better thing to say. Like an example that I have, this is a very old example. Lenskart doesn't do this anymore. They're a much stronger brand. and of course, all of us like Piyush for the great stuff he does on Shark Tank. But this is a creative I saw a while ago with them. And I'm not too sure how big Rakhi is in Kerala, but Rakhi, for people who don't know, or Raksha Bandhan as it's also called, is a big festival up north where it's a festival between siblings where the sister ties a thread in the hands of a brother called the Rakhi, and the brother vows to protect the sister. It's a little, I know where it's heading, but yeah, that's the tradition. And celebrate, like it's a big festival in the north of India. And they put this creative saying, let the tradition be color contact. Like, what sense does it make? You're not going to give contact lenses as a gift to your, sister, or to anybody. Have you ever given contact lenses to somebody as a gift? That just makes no sense. It literally says surprise your siblings at 4:25. Like, imagine I go to my sibling and say, hey, here are contact lenses for you. They'll be like, what the hell's wrong with you, idiot? But you see, like, if you don't have something good to say, don't say it. Like, nobody's waiting for your Rakhi post, let's be honest. But if you really want to say something, at least put some thought behind how it relates back to your brand. So yeah, some of those myths, I see a lot of things.
Yes, some queries
Yeah.
popped up in Q&A. Can I read it?
I'm reading it, don't worry. Do we need to
Okay.
start thinking about marketing while in product development? Yes, I feel so. You should think about how your brand will be presented, how you're gonna like, and marketing is a large word, right? So Binsi, marketing means you're also thinking of how will you distribute this, paid, organic. You're also thinking about content, you're also thinking about brand, you're also thinking about social, but you should start doing that. Nihan, how can we make sure our brands don't drown midst the bigger brands with more money and resources to invest in marketing? By differentiation. The only way to do that is by differentiation. Like, I have a few examples of how I'm trying to build it in event. So let me reach there, and I hope that will clear your doubts, Nihan. Gauri saying, lol, this is lame. I'm assuming it's not me, it's the creative. Tamara, how to market right? Like, could you give me a little more on that question? I don't think I get that question correctly. What is AI marketing? Is it creating personalized marketing or reducing uniqueness? AI, there's nothing called AI marketing. You use AI in marketing. It's essentially like, now you have things like ChatGPT, you have things like Midjourney, now AI, like OpenAI has already also released this thing called Sora, which is a video platform. How do you use those tools in marketing is the concept of AI marketing. Personalized experiences are being created. I don't think it reduces uniqueness. I think the way you use it, like, it completely depends on that, but it's a whole different ballgame. Like, I'm happy to chat about it offline. I think it'll derail this, but Dr. Anu, if you want to like hit me up on LinkedIn, we can chat about it. And as a starting entrepreneur, Rasna, I know Gauri, I'm just kidding. Rasna saying, as a starting entrepreneur, how to market an app with minimal budget and marketing. I think if you like follow a lot of these principles that we're talking about, just apply it in your life and it'll work. It'll not give you immediate, probably like in one day, you'll not make a brand, but you'll see what I'm talking about. But yeah, okay. So when it comes to building a brand, content is extremely, extremely important. Damn, we're running.
Nikhil,
Yeah.
there are some queries in the Q&A as well.
Okay. So this is answered. This is starting with how to market it. I think Rasna, we're just going to answer a lot of that. Shamla. For startups, how do we maintain consistency in branding? Sometimes we get carried away as we evolve and get into multiple directions. Thoughts and suggestions around that. Is it okay to switch gears on the messaging as we evolve? It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Don't like, I think, don't overthink shit. Sorry, Shamla, right? I think as human beings, we have the tendency of overthinking every little thing. Don't overthink it. Be brutal about your brand. Yes. Try and be consistent as much as you can. And like, don't lie to yourself, essentially. Whenever you can't, whenever you feel that you want to experiment, whenever you think, hey, the world is moving to a different place, we're in a different place, should we try that? It's okay to switch gears. experiment, come back. It's okay. It's absolutely fine. Don't spend millions of dollars doing those experiments is what I would suggest. But absolutely okay to switch gears, right? Every brand in the world has done it. Every brand in the world will do it. Tropicana just did I think $100 million brand refresh and had to revert to the old packaging and they failed miserably. So the biggest of brands in the world are making that mistake. So don't overthink it. It's okay. Yeah, cool. Guys, we're, I think, running really slow, so I'm going to run a little fast. Because there are a couple of things I don't want to miss out, right? So, again, you don't always have to create original content. You can create or you can curate. You can partner with, certain other brands that are already creating content, and you can like partner with them, sponsor their stuff, etc., etc. And to your question, whoever asked that, how can you promote with minimal budget? This is the way you promote with minimal budget. Good content can come in all shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to be video. You can create branded GIFs. You can create statics. You can create audio content today with, podcasts and stuff. You can do you say, hey, don't want to do anything like that. You just build it on text. Like brands are built on Twitter, literally on 280 characters, or build stickers and emojis. The biggest issue, by the way, is not the budget. And I'm going to be a little brutal when I say it. The biggest issue with brand marketing is not that you don't have the budget. The biggest issue that your brand is not working is because you're not putting the time in it and you treat it like a stepchild. And that is everything that's wrong with it. How much money does it take for you to create a Twitter account, create a display picture on Canva, create a banner on Canva, and just tweet 5 times a day with text, no images, no videos, nothing, just 5 times a day tweeting with text? Tell me how much money does that take? That takes $0 freaking dollars. And you don't do it because you don't have the mindset to do it. It's not the money. So I feel really irritated when people startups say, I don't have the money, so I don't have a good brand. No, it's not about the money. It's just that you don't think for your brand. And you're being, pardon my language, but you're being a lazy ass when you do that. So yeah, so you can choose to go wherever, right? Like creating this GIF, like this is a Subway campaign, as you can say, it literally is the Subway campaign. Subway can afford to not even put their logo because you'll immediately, when you see a sub sandwich, the only thing you think about is a Subway. But stuff like these statics, how much it cost me to make this? It costed $0. I was in Uber. It costed ₹0 to make it, right? Audio, you can literally start from your house. You don't even need to get a mic. You can use your mobile phone as a mic and you can create good quality audio content as well. I'm just saying, like, think for your brand, give it the due that it deserves, give it the respect that it needs. This is a model I would suggest is take a screenshot of it. This is a model that I follow. I built this model a few years ago when I was thinking of brand strategies. It's not a scientific model. It's not peer reviewed. It's not published anywhere. It's just my model that I use. Whenever you're building brands or whenever you're building content strategies, think of these 3 P's. One is the purpose, second is the personality, third is the property. First, purpose, which is try and go deep into your brand and understand what does the brand really stand for, right? Like, why do you exist? And I'm not talking about building a charitable cause or an impact initiative or social responsibility initiative. No, not that. None of that bullshit. Just very clear of what is the need gap that you're solving, what is the larger purpose of your brand, and start building up content around that, right? Go into your history, go into personality, go into products, go into your founder's life, and just see what is the larger purpose that this brand is solving and start building content on that. Like, for example, Coke, right? Coke is happiness. That's their larger purpose. Their larger purpose is to connect people, and they build their content on that. Coke is never, for example, you see any ad of Coke, there's never a single human being. There's always at least 2 or more, because they want to be the social connector of the world. They want Coke to be breaking the ice in people, helping connect people, helping make them friends. Second, think of a personality for your brand. Is your brand a friend? Is it a teacher? Do you want your brand to be bold like what Amul was till a few years ago? Do you want it to be soft like Amul is today? Do you want it to be polarizing? Do you want it to be diplomatic? So you need to find a personality and then you need to stick to it. So one of the easier ways I used to do it was I used to imagine my brand like a movie character or a celebrity, right? Why? Because when I put a movie character or a celebrity, mostly everybody in the room will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Let me give an example, right? If I tell you that, you know what, my brand is Ranveer Singh, I don't think I have to even like say one letter after that, right? If you've seen Ranveer Singh, of course, you immediately know, okay, this brand's gonna be loud, it's gonna be colorful, it's gonna be eccentric, it's be, not give a shit kind of attitude, and that's my personality. Similarly, you say, hey, my brand's like whatever, like is like freaking Amitabh Bachchan, so it'll be a stoic, non-controversial, diplomatic brand. So again, like these are just like some tips and tricks that I use for helping me build a brand strategy. Third is build properties, right? This is the biggest issue that brand marketers do, is that you don't have to think of a new thing all the freaking time. Repetition never spoils the prayer. So build properties that will like think of things in a way that will stay long term. And a property could be anything. A property could be a mascot like Amul. A property could be like a line which say Just Do It, as a line is Nike's property. They wrote it in 1987. That's 3 decades, more than 3 decades. And they still use it, right? So the more you repeat, the more you're consistent with the same philosophy, the better it sticks to a human being's mind. Today, if anybody uses Just Do It, you'll immediately know it's Nike, right? Like people wear Nike t-shirts just so that they can have Just Do It on their, on their t-shirts. In fact, it's spun off a whole new industry of funny stuff like just don't do it, I'll do it tomorrow, like stuff like that, right? It's created culture, and that's what advertising and marketing and branding does. It creates culture. Or it influences culture in a lot of ways. So these are just like a framework that I use. I want to leave behind this. Again, like if during anything, I know I'm running a little fast because we only had like 1.5 hours. We're already 1 hour down. But at any given point in time, if you're left with certain questions, please just feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn. We can like always chat. There's something on the chat. I will just look at that. Thanks, Sanju. Gauri saying, in a company with multiple verticals, how do you ensure that each vertical's branding strategy aligns with the overarching company brand and values? How do you differentiate the branding strategy of various verticals? Yeah, like interesting. So like honestly, the principles don't really change, Gauri. Like when I was in Uber, we had like we had multiple verticals, right? We had say an Uber Eats, we had Uber Auto, Uber Premier, Uber Go, Uber Pool, etc., right? All of them are essentially like verticals, but we had to just like follow these principles to ensure that there is a coherent brand strategy in terms of overall brand personality, in terms of overall look and feel, overall color schemes, other stuff around that. It just takes time, it takes effort, it takes like somebody being an asshole, right? At the end of the day, like usually you're going to be that asshole. Like I'm that asshole in my company where if anybody's staying, like I have multiple verticals. I have a offline vertical, an online vertical, a clinics vertical, a partnerships vertical, a B2B vertical. And I am literally the only idiot who's going around and saying, no, 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 this is not on brand, this is not on brand, this is not on brand. It needs to be like this, it needs to be like this, it needs to be like this. So there has to be one champion of the cause. And that's got to be you, unfortunately. So yeah, content is king, but distribution is God, is what I feel. So a distribution channel, again, like you can take a screenshot of it. This is a distribution framework that YouTube had created a whole while ago called the Hero Hub Hygiene model. It's essentially, it helps you calendarize your brand plans across the year. So in a Hero Hub Hygiene model, what you do is you slate your content pieces in ascending order of effort and ascending order of money required. So we're going to start from right to left because it's just easier. So hygiene content that you create is essentially always on stuff that you will do. This could be your social posts, your community engagement, push notifications if you have an app, emailers, etc. This is stuff that you will need to do every day, every 2 days, every 3 days, every week. But this is basically the baseline of your brand. This will give people a reason to come back to you and will create top of mind recall. So this will require, this will require lesser money, lesser effort, but it will require more frequency. Second, sorry, second is hub. So what hub is? Hub, look at hub like editorial content. So you will schedule, it can't be done with as much frequency as hygiene. So you do it in like once every quarter, once every month. But think of stuff like influencer collaborations, right? You can't do an influencer collaboration every day. Influencers cost money. But so you will slot it in the day, in the year. But it's not as big as, say, an advertising campaign you'll do. So it's a hub, which means it's somewhere in the middle. And then there is hero, which is the large scale tent pole campaign that you'll do. Could be once or twice in the year only. But this is when you go all out, right? So if you're able to calendarize your content like this, then it becomes A, easier for you to look through the whole year. B, it's literally now proven to help you, push up brand awareness and consideration and building stronger brand. This is how it looks like when you plot it on a graph. So when you keep doing hygiene content to build the bedrock, then whenever you do a hub content where you act like a YouTuber, this just pushes up the baseline a little bit. So over time, your baseline, what started from here, becomes here of hygiene, because the hub content has helped it get more people onto you. And then these are hero pieces, right? That like give you like that crazy push. So if you are able to distribute your content like this, or distribute your brand plans like this, it gives you a much more easy way of approaching, and will help you build consistency, will help you build a stronger engaged community as well. Any questions on this? I usually get a lot of questions on this, so I would, yeah. If there's nothing, then amazing. Yeah, the slide's not visible because I opened this box. Let
I
me.
think Tamara has a question. She has raised her hand.
Yeah, is it pronounced Tamara or Tamara? Sorry.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to ask a question that how do you market right? Right in the sense there are many channels in the Zara to market, even it is paying stars. And also like you have told about Amul, how they brought a mascot and how they are building like a marketing strategy where they say it's for the society. Similarly, Maggie's advertisement is like very emotional, where a mother is connecting with her daughter.
Yeah.
So similarly, Red Bull cannot do advertising as such. So how do you choose the correct marketing? How do you know this is how you can reach your product to the customer?
Yeah, so on that, right? Like the thing is, there's nothing called marketing right or wrong, right? It's marketing what works for you. And what you have to do to land there at those decisions is to do a lot of homework before that. Say, for example, you're starting a new category, you're starting a new brand. How many customers have you spoken to? How many ads have you seen around the category? Have you shown the ads to your customers? Have you tried to ask them, okay, do they like emotional stuff? Do they like funny stuff? Do they like crazy stuff? Blah, blah, blah. You take a lot of those inputs before taking those decisions. And you'll probably not land at the right marketing in the first place. You'll have to experiment. But that is one input. Second is how deeper you go into online research in terms of what are the channels that may work well for you. And you then experiment with lesser numbers. If you're starting a brand, you know Instagram is going to be the first thing you try for distribution. But have you looked at search advertising? Have you also looked at WhatsApp marketing? Have you looked at emailers, newsletters, etc., etc.? You select channels basis that. Then comes also the amount of time you will spend in building those other elements. If you build a distinguished color palette, if you build a distinguished mascot, etc., it only adds, but that requires effort, right? So you slowly and steadily build up to, doing the absolute perfect marketing. But it starts from literally getting inputs from the customers and understanding, okay, say I operate in the category of computers, or screw that, mobile phones, right? There are hundreds and thousands of mobile phones. Everybody talks the same. Everybody has the same specs now. Mobile phones are super commoditized, I feel, except for probably Apple at some level. But no way in hell am I paying ₹1 lakh for a phone in my life. But along came Nothing, and Nothing said, hey, we're not going to say anything. We're just going to like have retro design and cheap products and that's it, right? And now they're trying to build stronger pieces on top of that. So you'll have to take that first step, looking at consumer inputs and looking at your current industry and then finding out a white space and then exploiting that white space. There will be a white space for sure.
Okay, I
What kind
have
of
one more
questions that was
question.
asking? Yeah.
Hello. That is, at the starting of a company, what should you focus more? Is it on brand marketing or is it marketing?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you properly, Tamara. Your voice is cracking a lot. Is it just me or?
So at the starting of a company, what should you focus more on? Is it product market?
At the start of the company, what should we focus more on is is essentially, of course, your product marketing at the start. How strong is your product and how can you just market that? But I feel brand should also be as important, because product marketing, brand marketing will go hand in hand. Like otherwise, you won't be able to differentiate yourself, so nobody's going to notice you. But yeah, I'm just going to go forward now.
I think Trisha also has some queries. She has also raised her hand. Trisha?
Yeah.
Hi, Trisha.
Hi. So there's a lot of distraction my side, and I'm still going to keep. I'll go with the question. So I probably missed a bit in between. So could you please explain the hub part a bit more, what it means? Secondly, we run a mental emotional, startup. So in our case, we have been from the starting. We have been trying to, focus on the information content, and we've been quite consistent there. But the number of followers or likes extra is very low, because probably nobody want to like publicly go ahead and like or subscribe such content. But is there any advice for us to specifically look at trying to create a more stronger brand? So far, the services that we've offered to our clients are very connected to us, and they love us. But then trying to get a new client is difficult for us. We invest a lot in there, and we also take our brand very seriously and put effort on building that as
Yeah,
well.
I think I would love to see what you're doing for your brand, Risha, then be able to give you a better answer, right? Otherwise, I'm just like going to give you generic stuff. I think like mental well-being is a space which is pretty ripe for disruption right now, but there are a lot of brands anyway, and everybody I feel is kind of talking the same language. And I haven't seen a lot of, like differentiation as such. So I would love to see your brand. Can you just like send it to me on LinkedIn and we can chat more on that specific one?
So our brand is very different from the rest, because we kind of combine psychology and Ayurveda, and the results are fantastic and faster. And there's no side effects. Ayurvedic psychiatry with psychology. So people who come to us, they're like, I'm blessed that I came here after having visited many places. So the differentiation is very clear. But maybe to make people understand that this is giving results, or to get that following is very difficult.
Yeah, it is. I understand that. Like I said, I think I would like to take a more deep dive, because I don't want to say something that you've already heard, right? So I think if you could just send me your link of your website or something on or your social pages on LinkedIn, and I'll give you a more, I think, concerted answer. I feel that'd be better.
Surely we'll connect with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And on your question on hub, right? The hub piece are essentially, imagine if there are three sizes of a t-shirt: there's small, medium, and large. This is the medium. So this is stuff that you're doing for your brand, which may require some money, but not a lot. Which will require some effort. You can't do it very frequently, but you can still do it enough to have a constant kind of stream of content coming. It's kind of like a medium size campaign, if you ask me. That's something that hub is supposed to do. And I've
Thank
got some
you so much,
examples
Sanjay.
here. Yeah, that they're long videos. So what I'll do is I'll send this deck out to Aditya, and she can like float it around to the team so you can like watch these pieces. But they're essentially they're examples of this is a hero content, this is a hub piece of content, and this is hygiene piece of content. So hopefully it'll clear out some of your doubts when you look at these. And with honestly, like shorter time, I also want to spend the last 10 minutes in Q&A. So I would just like kind of end at the media planning piece. So the media planning is one of, I think, the more underutilized aspects of digital marketing or of marketing in general. Because people, what they do is they usually just like take an ad and run it on Instagram, right? But you'll have to spend a lot more scientific way approaches to kind of reach that place. So first of all is knowing your audience, right? And the deeper you go, the more targeted you become, the better your content will be. So if you sit with your media planner, understand, what are the segments of your audiences, media habits, behavior, pages they follow, what do they search about, etc. The more deep you go into the life of your audience, the more targeted your content will be. Secondly, always have a threshold media spend amount. So, and most people, what they do is they spend much more on creative or content, and then they have very little money left for promoting it. Don't do that. Do the absolute reverse. If you have 400 rupees, spend 100 to make the content, but spend 300 to promote it. Or I have a 1:3 minimum threshold thumb rule. Then how much are you learning and testing and optimizing, right? Digital marketing helps you to look at those data points on a real-time basis, and you can use that to further fuel your creative and your content. You look at different click-through rates, view-through rates, conversions, likes to dislikes, etc., etc. And the more time you spend with this data, the more you'll understand about the reasons of why your content is or not working. And then you tailor your content, right? You use different formats, you use native capabilities, and create segmentation and cohorting. The more segments you create, the more cohorts you create, the better it starts becoming, because the world is moving to this micro tribes kind of a movement. So it just, if you can like create smaller categories of people with shared interests, then you're being very targeted, and you're doing that at scale. That's how targeting at scale is done. For example, like a vegan who loves to cycle versus a vegan who loves to hike, you'll need to show, say both of them will love music, but you can show very different, creatives to them. And both of them could be, your audience. So for example, if you're a TripAdvisor and you want to get, people to book tickets to, say, Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has both mountains as well as beaches, right? I could be a mountain person, you could be a beach person. So if you show me a beach creative, I will not get excited. If I show you a mountain creative, you won't get excited. So, but we're essentially the same audience, we're the same age, we have the same, propensity to spend. We both want to go to Sri Lanka, but the reasons of them will be very, very different, right? So the more segmented cohorting you do, the better and the more targeted your content starts becoming. And lastly, please, please, please know your TG. They're not just a number. I would suggest, please take a screenshot of this format. Oops, sorry. I would suggest, please take a screenshot of this slide. Start building up your audience in this manner. Have a description, have a photo, have key demographics like age, gender, education, income, have psychographic elements like what are their values, what are their interests, what are their opinions, what are their pain points, etc., etc. The moment you start building pen portraits of your consumers like this, the sharper and the more, how do I say, a very, very deep understanding of your target audience you'll start getting. I'll give an example, right? This is the way I write my target group statements. This is Evan's target audience. They're the Rays. I've given you a picture. You understand how they're like, what their home looks like, etc. They're Delhi based. They met in a cafe in Delhi. This guy's name is Sid. So Sid is an architect. Tanaya, who's the wife, she's a journalism major and now, writes freelance. These are the kind of things that they like doing. They have a cult membership. They do a lot of diet. They have almond milk every day. They like to travel a lot. They have an Amazon device at home. Aditya likes to drink whiskey. Tanaya likes her Sauvignon, etc., etc. So I've given you a very detailed picture of what their life is like. Now you start thinking more about how my brand and my product and my service will fit into their life. That's how you look at building a target consumer portrait. So this is literally the most important thing of building up a strong brand strategy, or building a strong brand in general. How deep you go into target audience understanding. And I know there are a couple of more things, but I'll definitely leave behind this presentation. But I want to spend the last 5, 7, 10 minutes in question answers. So what I'll do is I'll just stop my share for a quick second. I would first thank you for listening to me so patiently for the last almost 1.5 hours. But yeah, I know there's a whole lot more in the world of branding. Nobody can cover it in 1.5 hours. But I still want to thank you for listening to me. Yeah, now I would love to kind of open up to questions.
I think Raji raised her hand just 1-2 minutes before. So Raji, are you there? Hello, Raji, are you there? Okay, otherwise, Atisha?
Raji's mic's not enabled, she's saying.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Atisha, you can speak.
Hello. Yeah. So, Nikhil, I wanted to ask, what kind of questions should one ask in a market research to launch a new brand in an existing category? So basically, I want to know, how do I identify points of differentiation
Got it.
for a
Got it.
new brand?
Yeah. So I would say, first of all, understand the competitive landscape. So if it's a new brand in an existing category, I'm sure there is an existing brand that the person's using. So understand what are those brands, what are the what made these people buy that brand or buy that service. If they remember seeing an ad, and if they do, what was the thing that they remember and what was it that they liked? What are their pain points with the current product or service? And honestly, how did they discover this brand? How did this brand reach to them? I think those are some important questions that you need to ask.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Corey, for such nice words. On a side note, I look like Steve Aoki's younger brother. I've been told I look like Steve Aoki's fat brother, but I'll take the younger brother. Shamala also has a question. Can you just fix Raji's mic issue as well? I think.
Yes, I
Thank
think she
you.
can speak right now.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, myself Raji.
Hi, Raji.
Actually, I have a question about personal branding. Actually, our product is a platform for small scale value added products in Kerala. And so we'll be selling some other people product through our platform. And at the same time, I also want to have a personal branding. So how can I do both the things together? Both the product branding as well as personal branding.
So the thing is, you are an extension of your product, right? If you're the founder, right? So you're going to be an extension of your product. So I would say a broad distinction in between how you build your personal brand versus your product brand would be, your product will only talk about the benefits and the great things that that product does for the customers. You should take a more thought leader approach in talking about the category, talking about why you're building this, talking about the culture in your organization, how easy or difficult it is for you to build a company in Kerala, how easy or difficult is it for you to raise funds as a woman founder, etc., etc. Build your life, right? And be authentic about it. So that becomes your personal brand, and then a lot of that will rub off on your product brand because you're the founder of this brand. So your values are automatically attached to your product. That's the way I'd kind of separate. But both of them, by the way, if you're doing personal branding and product marketing, imagine you're making two brands. So you'll have to put this same amount of effort in both. And that becomes the challenge majorly.
Yes. Thank you very much. Actually, that is very insightful.
Yeah, I've realized, see, it's not about the ideas, Raji. It's barely about the ideas. Today, in 2024, there is no new idea in the world. Nobody can have a new idea. It's all about execution. And if you can execute, then you can make 30 brands at the same time. But if you can't, then you're not even going to make one. So you'll have to take that call in terms of whether you'll be able to put in that effort in building a personal brand or not. If you can, then yeah, then don't worry, don't overthink, just start, right? That's the thing with branding. When you start, then you'll slowly and steadily start getting to understand what truly works for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shamala also has a question. Our service is something completely new and hence requires a lot of awareness building because there's no comparison competition for customer suite service awareness building, but now we struggle to get the product reach. So Shamla, I think then what you're doing is you're not adding a lot of your product into your campaigns or your, like whatever you're doing, whatever initiatives you're doing. And that's something you'll have to relook at. If you're doing a lot of, because you're saying you've started with awareness building, slowly and steadily, it will help you get product reach. It's not going to happen overnight. So you might need to have a good mix of performance marketing with brand marketing, and relook at the kind of content you're doing. Is it easy enough? Is it differentiated enough, etc.? And because there's no reason for it to not generate reach, right? So something is going wrong. Now, what's going wrong? We'll have to think of that. And thank you.
There is a
Samra.
question in Q&A as well.
Yeah.
From Nisha.
From Nisha, yeah, that's in the chat, right? Yeah. What do we have to build? What do you have to do to build an in-house digital marketing team? How can we hire good digital marketers? How much experience is required? That's 3 questions in 1 question. What do we have to do to build an in-house digital marketing team? You need to first put an org design in place in terms of what kind of talent you need, right? Like what part of digital marketing do you need? Do you need media? Do you need creative? Do you need social media? Do you need SEO, SEM, writing, designing, production? There's a whole world within digital marketing, right? So you first have to decide what you need in that, from a skill perspective, what do you need? Then how do you hire good digital marketers is by giving a solid job description and using LinkedIn for that. Build exciting projects and interview systems. I think that'll help. And always have a test, right? I always believe that, like, give an assignment. Don't have your interview as just like talking. Give at the end of the interview, have like an assignment that you built for that particular work stream. A simple assignment. Don't make them work for like a week, but if they can like work a day and give you some sort of things or thoughts around that particular things, that will help you filter out a lot of the candidates that you have. How much experience is required? That completely depends on you. What kind of stuff you need done, right? Like, and how much you're willing to pay. So you can get a digital marketer in 7 lakh. You can get a digital marketer in 2 crore as well. So there's completely depends on the experience and what skill set you're looking at. Cool. I think this brings us to time. I really want to thank everyone, all 50 of you who joined. Really appreciate it. And I couldn't think of a better way of spending my Saturday. So thank you for being such nice, gracious people. I hope, honestly, like at the end of this session, you're a little more excited about building the brand that you're working on. And again, I'm always available on LinkedIn. Aditya has my email, my phone number, so please feel free to like reach out to her and she can pass on any questions to me. Aditya, please also share the presentation with the folks so that that can help like people just like have a lot of their questions answered.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so I think time is up, and thank you so much, Nikhil. The session was very engaging and super simple to understand. And I hope our founders got some valuable tricks to build their brand in the competitive market. And thank you for the wonderful session. And we all are looking forward to engaging more with you in the future as well. And thank you, dear founders, to joining us, having a fruitful interaction conversation with our esteemed speaker, Nikhil Kant. And please do share your valuable feedback with us today itself. And as he mentioned, if you have any further queries, please share it with us in the feedback form, and we will get back to you after getting the right points from him. And we will cover it up in our blogs, and then you can read it again. And the upcoming session is on March 2nd, and it is on customer acquisition and retention, and it will be taken by Christina Sunny, co-founder and CEO of Manpower. So do block your calendar and be with us for a knowledgeable journey ahead. I think we can wind it up. So thank you, Nikhil, once again. Thank you, attendees, for being in a fruitful interaction with us today. And so this is Aditya, Neha and Hasna signing off. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Anju. Thank you, Preeta. Thanks, Nikhil. Thanks. Bye.